Alright, round 3 for the evening. As Joris is finishing up his mulliganing, unfortunately he is on a mulligan to 4 for this first game. Though Ricardo is on a mulligan to 6, so it's not the absolute worst, and Ricardo is double street wraithing here. We have Ricardo still on blue-black Asmor. And Joris on Dead Guy Ale. Now, Dead Guy Ale is not a archetype that's very well known in Modern. It's mostly a legacy archetype that's a black-white deck playing Stoneforge Mystic. And we have a couple of those in Modern at the moment, though I was kind of browsing on MTG Goldfish, and it seems most of those decks are playing a sort of Reanimator package, which Joris isn't. This is a full-on just mid-range strategy, which it was also there, but those decks didn't play Stoneforge Mystic, so it's kind of in the middle there. It's very much akin to Dead Guy Ale in Legacy. It's just a mid-range deck playing a bunch of the best black and white cards. We have some discard. We see Vindicate here. Stoneforge Mystic is going to be an absolute beast. Meanwhile, on the side of Ricardo, we have a cookbook doing some things, and not really much else. It seems Ricardo is incredibly flooded here, whereas Joris is kind of stuck on one land, but you're on a mulligan 4. What can you do? You hope you draw a land. That's all you can do. Now, it seems Joris did draw a Fatal Push, so if Ricardo ends up doing anything this game, Joris does have some breathing room. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Just more land from Ricardo here, though it does seem like he do something. Thought Monitor. That is in fact something that is going to draw him 2 cards, and hopefully, I think, yeah, there's an Ursa Saga and a Polluted Delta. I didn't quite catch what the third card is, but that's definitely good. That's definitely what you want to be doing here. What Joris is doing is not what you want to be doing here. Discarding a Lingering Souls to hand size. At least he's discarding a Lingering Souls. It's not a Lady Anna the Veil or anything like that. So, you got that going for you. Also, the Thought Monitor is a 2/2. So, again, not the worst threat. This Ursa Saga might end up being a little bit dangerous, but we'll have to wait and see. We have... Didn't quite catch what that was. It's just Asmor, which is gonna find the cookbook. Joris drew a land. He's back in this game. Also, my apologies for the glare on Ricardo's cards. There's this one light that normally I remember to turn off. The one time you forget it, and you get this. But we'll make it work. No worries. Joris gonna play Stoneforge Mystic, which is gonna find Cauldra. Now, Cauldra is definitely gonna be a very efficient threat coming down next turn. It is a 5/5. It has haste, trample. Not only is the Cauldra indestructible, but the creature it's attached to is as well. So, just all around a really effective threat, even against this food deck. The only thing Ricardo really has against something like a Cauldra is a construct. Should it be big enough. Because, again, the creature is just indestructible. Though, to be fair, if Ricardo decides he could kill the Stoneforge Mystic before Joris takes his next turn, and then the Caldar would just be sitting there rotting in Joris' hand. But it seems Ricardo doesn't, actually. Interesting, because he does have Asmor on the field. So he could sacrifice 2 food, kill the Stoneforge Mystic, but doesn't matter. Just go into game 2, alright? Alright, game 2, both players gonna keep 7. Let's see if Joris is able to actually deploy some real threats here. We have Marshflats going to get a Godless Shrine and casting Thoughtseize. Ricardo's hand a bit obscured. I think Joris is wanting to look at the cookbook. Looks like an old bordered card at least, so there's at least a bauble, there's a watery grave, I see a cookbook, and some things. Again, apologies for the glare, it is what it is. I'll be more vigilant from now on. That's going to be a cookbook. That was Snuff Out. That's what it was. It's 1 black. You destroy target creature, but it has an additional cost of you either sacrificing a creature or discarding a card, which the blue-black Asmor deck does not mind. In fact, it would love to discard a card and then just play a 1-mana 3/3. Absolutely. So we have Watery Grave tapped, the Mishra's Bauble was used, and Ricardo... We saw Ricardo play a bunch of really fast hands. Joris gives that Relic of Progenitus a bit of a spin. We've seen Ricardo play some really fast, consistent starts. This is not one of them. Gonna look at his own top card. Is gonna get rid of it. Again, we see Ricardo start just being a little slower than we've seen, but potentially can still pull it back. The blue-black Asmor deck is really good at just grinding out long games, so if given the time, he's definitely advantaged at some point. Joris is probably a bit better at grinding than something like Jund would be, but I still think it's gonna be on Joris and that guy Ale to just start pressuring. Just make him have it. We have Liliana of the Veil coming out here for Joris, but Liliana's probably not the best card in this matchup. It's not the worst. You're still pressuring Ricardo's hand. You're still taking away some of his options in the long term. But, oh, right. That's how that works. Yeah, my apologies. The card just takes out Planeswalkers as well. Just 1 black, kill Liliana. That's fantastic. Now, Ricardo did discard a card for the Snuff Out, which means that Asmor can now be cast from Ricardo's hand for either a black or a red. Asmor, with the proper support, could actually keep Joris busy long enough to just start grinding out value. If Asmor has 2 food, it can make a creature deal damage to itself. So Joris, being a mid-range deck, probably doesn't have a lot of threats. It doesn't really go wide. His His threats are really efficient, though. His interaction is pretty good. We just barely were able to see that Joris does have a Vindicate on hand, which is a fantastic card. It's a little on the heavy side when it comes to mana cost, but it just does so much. It's just destroy target permanent. That's it. Nice and simple, just incredibly effective. Just so many things it targets. And we do see Vindicate coming out here for Asmor, which is probably going to be correct. I think if Joris can keep Asmor off the field, it'll give him the breathing room he needs to start pressuring. But Ricardo does have plenty of threats. He could draw into an Urza Saga, start making some constructs. He could draw into Urza himself, which could potentially outgrind the efficient removal from Joris. So there's still a lot of threats here that Ricardo could deploy, but we'll have to wait and see. A Braid coming out from Ricardo here with the Polluted Delta still on the stack. That's a pretty heads-up play there. Because that relic is definitely a way for Joris to kind of keep Ricardo on the down low. If Ricardo ends up playing like a cookbook and if Ricardo starts discarding Ovalch's Daredevil, then it's nice to be able to use your graveyard and not have a Relic of Progenitus potentially getting rid of your cards. We get a bit of life link from the Shambling Vent here for Joris, so that's definitely appreciated. And it looks like Ricardo does have the Ovalch's Daredevil. So the Daredevil gets discarded to the cookbook. Cookbook then makes an artifact, a food, and because an artifact lands the battlefield, the Daredevil just goes back to your hand. So the Daredevil, it still goes to the graveyard, so it's still weak to most kinds of graveyard hate. But barring any graveyard hate, it's just a repeatable way to activate the cookbook, which is suddenly just tap, make a food. That's it. Again, there are a lot of ways to interact with that, but it's very efficient. Very efficient. Shambling Vents again coming in here. Ricardo to 12. And Joris to 16. And while Joris is pressuring Ricardo's life total, he's not doing it very fast. Which could end up being a problem if Ricardo decides to start sacrificing some food. Now, he'll most likely wait as long as he can on that, because every food token he still has is going to increase the size of his constructs. If he plays an Urza, then suddenly they all become Mox Opals and start tapping for blue, which is really, really nice to have. We have Stoneforge Mystic coming out for Joris here, which is most likely going to find Cauldra. And now Joris has enough pressure to actually try and close out the game, I think. Again, Ricardo still has a bunch of food, so he could, in theory, still live long enough to find some sort of threat. Remember, he's still making a food per turn, so he's not on death's door just yet. But Cauldra is going to provide a clock, definitely. A better clock than the Shambling Vent by itself would be. Now, if Joris can find a 6th land, then he could actually go Cauldra, Shambling Vents, during his next turn. If not, he'll have to wait a turn on the Shambling Vent, which would not be the worst, but you know, every turn matters here. Okay, there is a Plains here. We are going to see Cauldra come into play, and I mean, I would have to assume that Joris just goes for the Shambling Vent, just hit for 7. Just try and outraise the food for Ricardo here. And even if Ricardo decides to sacrifice some food, the fact that he's sacrificing food means that he is losing artifacts at a pretty alarming rate at that point. It seems Joris decides not to, which it's fine. It could mean he has some sort of interaction he's holding up. Maybe he wants to draw off the silent clearing. I see a fatal push and something else. Not sure what that was. Decides to sacrifice the silent clearing and draw a card. Again, didn't quite catch what that draw was, but we'll probably see that in a minute. I think there's a Vindicate there. There's definitely a Dark Confidant. That is definitely something that is happening here. Looks like Ricardo decided to sacrifice some food, keep his life total higher, which is definitely something that he's gonna need here. But he's gonna need a really good top deck here. That Dark Confidant has the potential of just burying Ricardo here. And if it's not the Confidant, it's most likely gonna be the Cauldra. And it's just not enough. Asmor coming out here. That is helpful. Though I don't think Ricardo is in a position to start using his food to clear out the board, and he decides not to as Joris presents Fatal Push and gets rid of Asmor. Now, Asmor, due to its name, actually ends up not having a mana cost, which means its actual converted mana cost, or mana value as it's called now, is 0. That Fatal Push is very effective against a creature with no mana cost. We see a second Asmor coming out. Okay, definitely a thing. Definitely a thing here. Gonna get another cookbook. Make a bunch more food. But Joris activates Stoneforge Mystic, puts Batterskull into play. Now we're clocking. This is a clock. Joris takes turn, has 2 germs, and a Doughty Voidwalker is the flip of Dark Confidant. Doughty Voidwalker, first of all, is a 2-mana card. It is 2 black for a 3/2. That's already pretty good. It has Shadow, which means it can only block or be blocked by other creatures with Shadow, so it's also one of the most efficient attackers in the game right now, at least in Modern. Then it's, as long as it's on the field, any card that goes to the graveyard just goes into exile with a counter on it. So it's also just graveyard hate, and then you can tap it, assuming it doesn't have Summoning Sickness, and cast anything that was exiled with one of these void counters on it. So you can also just, in some cases, get just a random win condition, like a 5-mana Teferi, and then just run away with it. It's an incredibly powerful card. Now, I'm not sure what that card was for Joris here, but it seems to have cleared a bunch of the... It seems to have cleared the food. Or maybe Ricardo sacrificed the food. He's at 1, and yeah, Joris just too much pressure closes out this game, and we go to game 3. So game 3, both players again keeping their 7. Ricardo starting off on Island Cookbook. And yeah, we got a pretty good look at what Dead Guy Ill is able to do in Modern right now. I'm trying to think of what cards are in the Legacy version that aren't in the Modern version. Obviously, it's not playing Scrubland, as that card is definitely not legal. But other than that, I think those two decks are pretty close. We have Inquisition of Kozilek coming up from Joris here. What is it? The Mystical Archives Inquisition. Like, I love all these alternate art versions of cards, but they can be a bit hard to recognize on occasion. It seems the Inquisition is going to take the Abrade. Ricardo cycling a Street Wraith and playing a Ether Spellbomb, which for 1 blue can bounce a creature. And I think at the moment that's not going to be relevant. It might be in the future, though. I see Stoneforge Mystic in the future of Joris here. That's probably not the best bounce. It's also not the worst bounce. You deny the drop for a turn, but then of course you reset the Stoneforge Mystic, meaning you can get another artifact, or I mean another equipment, which, yeah, I think you'd rather just give him the Cauldron next turn and just accept the fact that that's happening. Yeah, Cauldron again coming out. We see Fatal Push coming out for Ricardo here. Now, bouncing the Stoneforge Mystic might not be very effective, but killing it sure as hell is. Absolutely. Because now that Cauldron is a 7 mana equipment that is stuck in yours' hand unless he plays a second Stoneforge Mystic, which I don't think he had. He might actually. I'm not sure. Pirate Spellbomb is the play for Ricardo here. Oh, actually, Joris is still at 19. That was a little too. Okay, now he's at 17. Of course, he shocks as I'm adjusting live total. Now, he got a basic land off his Marsh Flats there. Relic of Progenitus coming out. Again, gonna pressure Ricardo's graveyard. And Douthie Voidwalker is going to pressure the hell out of Ricardo's graveyard. Yep, that gets exiled with a Void counter. I think there's a world where Joris could have done that. No, there isn't. No, they need to be exiled by the effect of the Voidwalker to actually be relevant here. So that Spellbomb. Wait, what's the spell? What did it say? Yeah, that Spellbomb is now in exile, and Joris can sacrifice the Voidwalker to cast it without paying its mana cost. That's what's happening here. Oh, I see. Ricardo put it in his graveyard. Yeah, it goes into exile because it's a damage effect. The Pirate Spellbomb, which means that it resolves. It does damage, then it goes to the graveyard, and before you check for state-based effects of the damage, the Pirate Spellbomb's already supposed to be in the graveyard, which means it gets exiled. Just one of those magic things that is sometimes relevant, and when it is, you kind of have to know that it is. Yeah. Seems we got Asmor here. coming down for Ricardo, which gonna put some pressure. Gonna have to wait and see if Joris has an answer. Now he still has the relic, so he could, in theory, still get rid of Rival Chase Daredevil. Ricardo getting rid of the Doughty Voidwalker is definitely step one here. Step 2 is going to be surviving this Liliana, which is going to go down. Gonna get rid of the Asmor. Now, Joris, remember what happened last game? I mean, wait, what did happen last game? Oh yeah, Ricardo had a braid. Right. Ricardo doesn't have a braid right now. So yeah, no, he can totally do that this time. He's fetching a basic swamp, though I'm not sure what he actually did with that mana. Oh, he played relic. Right. Okay. Fair enough. Gonna tap it again. Just start eating away at that graveyard. Ricardo thinking about exiling a Mishra's Bauble. I think that's probably not the thing I'm going to be doing here. Remember, Ricardo is playing Emry. So I would imagine he'd want to keep his artifact in his graveyard. Ah! Gonna use the hidden mode on the cookbook, which is 4 mana, tap it, and pick a creature back up from your graveyard, which is gonna end up being Asmor. I completely forgot the card has that ability. Seems Ricardo didn't, though. Though he does occasionally seem to forget the fact that Urza Saga puts an artifact on the field, but that's a different story. That's fine. That's fine. We love you anyway, Ricardo. Don't worry about it. Thoughtseize coming out. Gonna take the Asmor again. Get rid of it. And then unless something else hits the graveyard, I think that's lights out for Asmor this time. Now, Joris is holding Kaldra still, which is still 3 mana off. And he's holding a Vindicate. Which means Liliana plussing would get rid of some really good spells here. Though, I think plussing... Wait, I forgot. Did Ricardo have cards in hand? I forgot. If Ricardo didn't have any cards in hand, then yeah, Joris is just shooting himself in the foot. In this position, it's probably correct to plus, even though Ricardo just discards the card anyway. You're kind of forcing him to discard it, which I think is fine. Gets rid of the Fatal Push, which isn't really doing anything at this point. The Vindicate is gonna take care of the Urza Saga, which means no construct. Never mind. Okay, no card structs for a turn. To be fair, if the other Urza Saga was still there, Urza Saga is not legendary, so that is still 2 card structs that Ricardo is not getting. Ooh! Joris drew the Stoneforge Mystic. And is that a Kataki? Okay, we're gonna see the Stoneforge Mystic first and foremost. He's gonna find, I would imagine, Batterskull. If I just saw that correctly, Joris is holding Kataki. Which means Ricardo And all his artifacts now have an upkeep of 1 mana, which means all his foods now require 1 mana during every upkeep. This is what's happening. I think it is. Then Ricardo is up shit creek here. Oh yeah, this game is over. That is disgusting. Oh yeah. Just like that, all your artifacts have an upkeep cost of 1. Yeah, Ricardo decides, you know what, I'm gonna get rid of my food. You're gonna make me sacrifice my food. I'm gonna do it on my terms. So that is Ricardo's now at 19. 3 life per food. Decides to pay the 1 mana for the cookbook, which is probably fair enough. And then I was so focused on Kentucky, I completely missed what the fine was of the Stoneforge Mystic, but it doesn't really matter, I think. No, this is the 3rd Urza saga, and it doesn't matter because there's a Kentucky on the field. Like, make those constructs. You're paying 1 for each of them every turn. If Ricardo decides to make a bunch of constructs here, then that Kentucky is just a straight up tabernacle. Just a straight up, what is it? $1,500 card right now. Yoda's gonna cycle the Relic. I think the Relic has served its purpose here. Gonna activate Stoneforge Mystic. Probably gonna put Cauldron into play. Yeah, the Cauldron has haste. Gonna swing for 5. And this is happening. What are you gonna do about it? Now, Yoda's pretty heads up here, not attacking with Kentucky. I completely forgot about the fact that he could just make a construct, block the Kentucky, and then suddenly Ricardo has a way back here. Is gonna opt not to pay for the cookbook. Is gonna pay for the construct. Again, this is regular REL. So if this was competitive, then Ricardo drawing this card pretty much forfeited his construct token here. I think that's how that works. But yeah, again, just regular rules enforcement. It's just a friendly night of Magic the Gathering at our local game store. We're here for fun, and like looking at this game, fun is definitely a zero-sum game. Because Joris is having all the fun, and Ricardo is just here. He's just sitting there looking handsome and he's just along for the ride, man. He's in the car, but he's not driving. That's for sure. we got some constructs. They're not going to do anything. And it looks like Ricardo's ride for this evening, his 3 rounds, it's not going to lead to a 4th round. Unless, like, what does Ricardo need here to actually come back? That's a Sword of Fire and Ice. That's a Cauldra with a Sword of Fire and Ice equipped with Germ. Like, what are you gonna do? What are you going to do? So, I expect we'll see Yoris for the next game. I'm struggling to remember what actually happened that night, but yeah, I'm pretty sure Ricardo is getting off the bus here. This is your stop. You're home. Go to sleep. No. That's not what happens when your bus makes it to your home. You don't immediately go to sleep. No, that's not how. You know what? You know what I mean. I am delirious here, but you know where this game is going. You know what I'm talking about. You can infer. Okay, just work with me a little here. We'll get there. And as we're still playing, we're making some food, making a construct, getting a bauble, having some mana for Kataki. Google, get lost. Playing magic here. Damn phone activating for no reason. Yeah, there's not enough food in this deck for Ricardo to get through this. This whatever this is. Did he just fail to find off the saga trigger? I think it is. Yeah. I think he just looked at his deck. It's like, oh yeah, no, I have no more targets. That's the thing. All right. Have some more salad, have some more spam. It doesn't matter because you're dead anyway. For those of you who know that reference, leave it in the comments. I do read the comments. There's not a lot of them. And Guile gonna get rid of the construct? Beat to death? GG? No, wait. There's more constructs. Never mind. Always more constructs. Actually, you know what? If you're still watching this video, it was a Weird Al Yankovic reference. It's what's the it's Eat It. It's a parody to Michael Jackson's Beat It. And yeah, I'm just gonna end the video here.